Dolphins fans, you're watching Dolphins Today. I'm Willie Fins. Appreciate you tuning in. So on today's show, we're looking at 5 post-June 1 trade targets for the Dolphins. The Dolphins have a lot more cap space now than they did earlier this week because of the Byron Jones post-June 1 cut going through. They now have about $15 million in cap space as opposed to $2 million. So they got $13.6 million more to spend. Who could they target via a trade? The names we're about to show you were not realistic before this week, but are more realistic now. Who do you want to trade for? Let me know down in the comments section. Who do you want the Dolphins to trade for? Dalvin Cook is certainly a trade target. He remains on the Minnesota Vikings, and there's a lot of talk about what's going to happen here with Dalvin Cook. Now, the Vikings would save $11 million by trading him right now, as opposed to $9 million by cutting him. So they could save a little bit more by trading him. And the Dolphins are expected to be the front runners for Dalvin Cook if he gets cut or traded. Miami has been linked to him for months. The question is, do they need Dalvin Cook? Would they want Dalvin Cook? I think Dalvin Cook wants to be in Miami. He'd be a great get. He's been one of the more consistent running backs in the league, multi-time Pro Bowler. And what's crazy is the last 2 seasons, he really hasn't been 100% healthy, and he still put up big numbers. So if he can go back to those 2020 numbers where he was fully healthy, over 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns, he can be one of the best running backs in the league. What's going to happen here with Dalvin Cook? There's a couple different options that the Vikings have. If you think he gets cut, type C. If you think he gets traded, type D. Or if you think he stays in Minnesota, type S down in the comments section. Go down, predict it. What is going to happen with Dalvin Cook? Let me know down in the comments section. I think the Vikings might play hardball, and here's why I say that. Armando Salguero actually echoed the same thing in an article talking about the latest Dalvin Cook rumors. But there's no need for the Vikings to rush this. They've gotten to June 1st. Now they can evaluate the options here. And the longer they wait, the harder it's going to be for Dalvin to get a really good deal in free agency, because let's say they wait until after training camp starts in 6 weeks. You know, it's going to be tough for Dalvin to get the deal he might be looking for, and then he might be forced to take a pay cut to stay in Minnesota. So we'll see what happens, but do not expect anything to happen in the immediate. This could drag out. We'll see. It's still possible, though, that something could happen quickly, but the Vikings certainly have some options here. They don't need to rush into things. Mekhi Becton, the next name we're going to talk about here, the offensive tackle from the New York Jets. And the reason that he's on my list here, the reason that I included him on today's show, is because he is frustrated with the Jets. Can't blame him. Taking a look at what he said about the Jets, keep in mind he had a season-ending injury before the season started last year. It made no sense to put me at right tackle. It hurt my right knee. That's going to be the knee I put the most pressure on while backpedaling in pass protection. I explained it to the coaches, but no one cared. I got forced to play a position I don't play, and then I was pretty much telling them I wasn't feeling good the whole time throughout camp, and I was told I shouldn't be complaining. Go out there and do it. I was limping throughout the whole practice, and I took a step and my knee buckled, and I got hurt again and had to get season-ending surgery. So, Mekhi Becton, when I read that, I low-key think he kind of wants out of New York. We'll see. But even if he wants out, if he doesn't want to play right tackle, that makes him an unrealistic trade target. Now, he's going into the final year of his rookie deal. His 5th-year option got declined. So now the Dolphins could maybe afford him via trade that they got the Byron Jones money. But if he does not want to play right tackle, that's somewhat problematic if you're looking at him as a trade target, because Teron Armstead is your left tackle. Jalen Ramsey's a Dolphin. Months after the fact, still hard to believe. Go get your Jalen Ramsey jersey at chatsports.com/Ramsey. That link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Let me know down in the comments. Do you want a Jalen Ramsey jersey? You should want one. Go get it. chatsports.com/Ramsey. Let's talk about another offensive tackle. That is Jonah Williams from the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, he requested a trade from Cincinnati right after the Bengals signed Orlando Brown Jr. to take his spot at left tackle. The plan right now is for Jonah Williams to play right tackle for the Bengals after spending the last 3 seasons at left tackle. He does have a Dolphins connection. He blocked for Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama. Williams is skipping OTAs. He was one of 2 players that was not at OTAs today for Cincinnati, so that is worth monitoring. We'll see what happens, but I would be a little bit surprised if Jonah Williams is a member of the Bengals at the start of the season. Could the Dolphins get involved? If so, they would have to convince him to be fine with playing right tackle, but here's your pitch to him. Go play with your former college teammate Tua Tagovailoa and protect his blind side. Have the most important role on the Dolphins' offensive line. That needs to be the pitch to Jonah Williams. But I have a very similar stance on Jonah Williams that I do Mekhi Becton. If they just refuse to play right tackle, if they have no interest in playing right tackle, then they might be an unrealistic trade target. But Jonah is more realistic now than he was last week, and here's why. The Dolphins just got $13.6 million in additional cap space. Look at his salary, $12.6 million. So the Dolphins could afford a Jonah Williams trade now that they have the Byron Jones money. Who would you rather trade for, Jonah Williams or Mekhi Becton? Type JW for Jonah Williams or MT for Mekhi Becton down in the comments section. Who would you rather play for? NBA Finals going on right now. You want to stay in the loop with all Heat news and rumors, so be sure to subscribe to our brand new Miami Heat channel. Producer Nick Roloff, diehard Heat fan, is doing a great job with that channel. Go and support the channel by subscribing, youtube.com/Heat Report. That subscribe link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Go and support the Miami Heat channel if you support the Heat. Tyler Higbee, the next name we're talking about here, the tight end from the Los Angeles Rams. Bleacher Report actually called him a Dolphins trade target last week. Here's what they said about the Rams tight end, talking about him going to the Dolphins. Miami's one big weakness on offense is tight end. The Dolphins currently have Durham Smythe, Tyler Kroft, Eric Saubert, and Elijah Higgins on their roster, and Tanner Connor, none of whom are dangerous threats in the passing game. Miami did not use its tight ends much in 2022, but it needs a competent pass catcher across the middle to take some pressure off Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tyler Higbee is in the last year of his deal with the Los Angeles Rams, and he would give the Dolphins more talent across their offensive depth chart. The Rams might be reluctant, though, to deal Higbee before the season if they think they can surge back into contention in 2023. That's what would make a potential Higbee deal so shocking. He's been very consistent. He's been a very good tight end for a long time. 620 yards in 2022, 72 receptions, 3 touchdowns. The year prior, 560 yards, 5 touchdowns. The year prior, 521 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then 2019, 730 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think this deal would make a lot of sense for the Dolphins to add Tyler Higbee to this room. I think you can still get better at tight end, but I'm going to reiterate what I said last week. It's a lot more likely that he gets dealt during the season. He's going to be a name to monitor at the NFL trade deadline. How about this name? Chase Young. Could the Dolphins stun the NFL world and trade for the Washington Commanders defensive end? Trade rumors around Young have been heating up after his 5th-year option was declined. He's just played in 12 games the last 2 seasons after winning Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2022. The reason he's only played in 12 games is he tore his ACL and patellar tendon in 2021. Now, nobody's talking about the Dolphins as a possible target here or possible fit for Chase Young. And it's understandable why. But what have I said about Chris Grier? When a big-name player becomes available, he is going to swing for the fences. He did that with Jalen Ramsey. Could he do that with Chase Young? Because right now, when you look at the Dolphins' defensive line, there's not a lot of depth for years to come. Zach Sealer, free agent next year. Raekwon Davis, free agent next year. Christian Wilkins, free agent next year. Emmanuel Ogbah, some concerns if his best days might be behind him. We'll see what happens. But Chase Young keep an eye on him is a potential Dolphins trade target now that the Dolphins have a lot more money to spend. Do you want to trade for Chase Young? Type Y for yes or in for no down in the comments section. Go down, chime in.